I've just recently published a course on how to create Google Workspace add-ons using Google App Scripts. And at the very end, I needed to get the total duration in hours and perhaps minutes of all the videos that I created for the course. So to do that, I generated this Google Sheet that has the name of the course and then a link to the course URL that I can open up here. And then the ID for the course, so that's the file ID, a thumbnail for the course, its width and height, and then its duration in minutes and seconds. So if we scroll down to the bottom here, we get a total duration of 9 hours, 50 minutes, and 48 seconds, with a total number of videos for the course of 55 videos. Now, all my videos for the course are stored in a Google Drive folder, just a single folder here. So from here, we can't get the total values for the course by looking at its total value metadata here. We can see a little bit of the information over on the sidebar, but it doesn't capture much. We can't see the dimensions of the video, and we can't see how many hours, minutes, and seconds there are in the video either. We do get a bit of an image of the video and who it's shared with too. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to capture some metadata from a video inside a Google Drive and then put it inside your Google Sheets, just like this one here. There's no sample sheet for this tutorial because I'm using my course data, and if you want to have a look at the course data, please check out the course in the link in the description below, and it will teach you how to build your very own Google Workspace add-on. Enough of the sales pitch, let's dive into some code. Let's delete this out first and start afresh. And we'll scroll up to the top here, and we'll go into our extensions and app script. Okay, so there's a couple of processes that we need to do for this. But first, let's just add our project title, GWAO, course video data. Now, when I've got a bound script, that's one's bound to a Google Sheet, Docs, or Slide, I like to make sure that the script has the same name as the bound document. So let's hit rename there. And let's just change the my function to runsies. And this is going to be our main run function for our little tutorial. Let's give it a bit of zoom in attention here so you can see a bit better. Hope that's more clear. And let's first grab our root folder for our videos. So I'll go const root folder for a constant variable. It's one that doesn't change. And we're just going to put in our folder ID here. So I'm just going to go over to our Google Sheet here. And you can see just up the top here, this is going to be our folder URL. So I'll just copy that in. Let's just put that above in a comment for reference, and we can always click on it and open it up now by pressing Control and click. And we just want this folder ID here. So we'll select that and paste that in. Nice. So the main thrust of this tutorial is to grab all the videos in our folder, that is our root folder here, and extract certain parts of the metadata and put them in our Google Sheet. So let's put this in a separate function, and we'll call that function const video data will be what we want to retrieve, and we will create a function called get videos. And we'll hide that function from our list by putting a little underscore at the end, and it is going to take a root folder. Nice. And let's just console log, whatever pops up, video data. Goodo. All right, so let's create that function now. So underneath runsies, we'll say function get videos. There it is there. And get videos is going to take the root folder, but we'll just call it the folder ID in this case here. So folder ID as our parameter. We'll be good little coders and do some JS doc notation here. What's it going to do? It's going to extract the video metadata from all videos in the selected folder and return it. Because we're going to put it into our Google Sheet here, we want to return it as a 2D array. Normally we'd probably keep it as an object with a bit of information there, but it's better as a 2D array because we're putting it in a Google Sheet and as a 2D array. Nice, and we'll create a param, not a pram. The param is going to be a string, and that's going to be for folder ID, and that's going to be the folder ID string. And it's going to return, so turns an array, and it's going to be 2D array. And what's it going to contain? It's going to contain let's do a sample. It's always nice to do a little sample in here. We could make a type definition, but it's not that detailed. What it's going to contain is a name, ID, thumbnail, width times the height, and then the duration. And that's going to be in hours. We'll do 2H, HK, Hong Kong. Hours, minutes, and seconds. Yeah, cool. All right. The first thing we need to do is call Google Drive and extract the data that we need for each sheet. Now, you might be inclined to use the Drive app class here, but that's not going to extract all the information that we need. So we need to use the Drive Advanced service. So let's connect that first. We'll go over to services here and click on Add. And we'll go down until we find Drive. There it is, Drive API. And we'll keep the identifier as Drive and select that. So now we can call the Drive Advanced service like that. So we'll say const folder is equal to drive.files. So we want to get all the files in the drive, and then we want to list them just like that. Okay, so we can use lists in a number of ways. So if we did it just like this will get the root directory list. But what we want to do, we want to query our drive just inside the folder ID and just for the video type that we have, which is going to be an MP4 type. So let's just go over and check. So these are videos, and I know that each one of these are MP4. It says .mp4 on the end of each one. All right, so let's head back here. If you're extracting this from a shared drive, you'll need to say supports all drives and select that to true. And then we can add in a query as well. So these are just our optional arguments here. So we're going to add in a query, and the query key here is Q, very imaginative. And we're going to add in 2 queries. Now I like this approach as opposed to iterating through each item and grabbing drive file and looking at the file, because that's going to be really slow on processing time. When we do a query like this, it's going to search for everything all at once, like a batch operation, and then bring the selected data back based on the query. So let's use some backticks here. So template literals. And then inside that, we need to first grab our folder ID, and that's going to be in single quotation marks as part of the query. Now, the query language for this is confusing, and I'll provide a link in the description for access to the query information for Google Drive, but we will just use this basic information for today. So what have we got? So we'll say folder, we'll add in our folder ID as our first query, and we want that in parents. So what am I saying here? So if a file has a parent with the folder ID that matches our folder here, then that needs to go into our drive files list. Also, if the minme type is a video, or specifically an MP4, then we want to extract that. This will just handle just in case we've got other file types in our drive as well, and we don't want that up on our list. So let's just add that in. So we'll say video, MP4, and that should be pretty good for now. So at this stage, there's a couple other things to consider. If our files that we expect to see is going to be a huge list, maybe something over 100, we might have to add a page token and set the max number of page for our page limit. Ours is going to be relatively small, maybe under 40 or under 30, so we don't have to worry about it for our circumstances. The main thrust of this tutorial is to help you understand what's inside this video object that's going to be returned from the folder. So what we'll do, we'll go return folder just so we get a basic structure of what's in the folder if we're successful. So we'll hit run first, make sure there was no errors on the extraction. Cool, looks like we've got an object here. There's obviously different layers to the object, but it looks like we don't need this kind e-tags and self link here. We do need the items. So the items are going to be an array containing each one of these selected items here. So if we say, for example, if we say folder dot items dot length and hit save and then run, we've got 55 items in our list. So that sounds pretty reasonable here. It's returning undefined because we haven't returned anything back from this console. That's okay. We'll handle for that later. Okay, so what else can we make in for a console log? I think it's going to be too huge for us to console log everything and our logger will just stop. But let's just console log the first item in the array and we'll use the JSON stringify so we can see inside the second levels of objects in there as well. So JSON stringify folder dot items, and we'll get the 0th item, and then we'll say null to create our string and a space there, so we'll make it space separated, and we'll hit run. So we've got the very first item in our sheet, and this is the course intro MP4. We can see here by the original file name. I'm sure there's another title here too. Here it is here. So the title. This is some of the metadata information that we need. So what might be handy, this is what I usually do when I'm trying to figure out an object, is just to select the object, hit Control C to copy, and just whack it in below. We'll create a constant variable called my vid, and just paste it in and save. Just putting it as a constant variable means you can save without a syntax error. And now we can search through the stuff that we need to extract. So what are the things that we need? We need the name, so that's going to be the title. That's okay, so that'll be the title. What else? The ID. We can do a Control F and look for the ID. There it is there. We can look for the thumbnail. That should be under thumbnail. So THUMB. There's another one. There it is there. Thumbnail link. Cool. If we hit Control and click and open it up, see what happens. That's the thumbnail image for our first item. Also note up the top here, you can see that we've got this equals S220. That's actually the size 220 pixels. If I got rid of this, you would probably see the original image size, which is that one there. Awesome. Okay, and what else? So we had the thumbnail, the width and the height. So maybe we can type in width and see what happens. There we go. So here in width, we've got this video metadata, and obviously because it's video media metadata, it's not going to be in other file types. It's only going to be in the video file type. And it conveniently contains the height in pixels and the width in pixels, and then also the duration in milliseconds. And this is the real thing we're looking for, isn't it? So I think we've covered a couple of things here. So we've got the height and then the duration there. We'll have to convert that into hours, minutes, and seconds, but that's okay. We've made a good start. So that's a console log sorted out. So what we need to do next is iterate through each one of these items and extract the data that we need, and then put it in a format that's convenient for us to add into our Google Sheet here. Also, at the end, I want to add in the total number of videos and add the total duration in hours, minutes, and seconds. So let's just create a variable here called all videos. We're going to mix our types here. Sometimes you just need rules to break them. And we'll set our milliseconds to 0. And we've used the let. Oh, and we can't use constant here. We'll need to use the let variable because it is going to change. And let's preset our header array. And that's going to be a 2D array. And we'll say const this time, header, because this definitely won't change, equals. So first outer array and then inner array. Now remember, when we're in a Google Sheet, we're using 2D arrays where each row is contained inside the inner array. So that's row 1, for example, row 2, row 3, and so on and so forth. Now we only need one row for our header, so we'll get rid of those two and get rid of that comma, cheeky comma. And then we're going to add in the name and then ID and thumbnail. What else? Width times the height. Oh, didn't put a comma in. No one said anything. And the duration. Oh, the duration. There we go. Cool. Let's delete that. Make it nice and pretty. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is use one of my favorite functional JavaScript methods, and that's the reduce method. So we're going to create a variable, so const, called videos data, and that's going to be equal to the folder dot items dot reduce. So inside our reduce, we're going to create an arrow function, and you here see we've got this previous value and then the current value. I like to call the previous value, especially in this case, the accumulator or ACC. It's common vernacular, and then the current value is going to be the video. So each video we iterate through. So video. Nice. And these have to be in their own brackets because we're going to create an arrow function. So arrow function here, and then some plus equals arrow function. There it is. Some curly braces, curved brace at the end to close that reduce function. Cool. Nice. Okay. So at the very end of our reduce function, we need to set the initial value, and that initial value is going to be our header 2D array. So header. So from that header, that will be the first one in our accumulator, our previous value, and then we'll be appending this array each time. Let's create a constant variable called duration in milliseconds. And that's going to be equal to the video dot, and then we want the video media metadata, and that's one of the beauties of copying and pasting the log in here because it'll help you preload things. And so we've got the video media metadata, and then we want the duration in milliseconds. Thank you very much. Now I can't remember. Hit Control C for that. Whack that in here and just have a look down. That's as a string. So we don't want it as a string, we want it as a number. So let's use the JavaScript number constructor. And before we do all our fancy stuff, let's update our all videos in milliseconds for that iteration. So all videos in milliseconds is going to be plus equals duration in milliseconds. And now this value will be added. So each millisecond will be added to the previous bundle of milliseconds. And then let's create our array data. So the first thing we need is our const, and it'll be our title. And what is our title made up of? Well, we probably want the title of the video, but also a link to the video as well. And we can create the Google Sheets hyperlink for that. So in Google Sheets, we can use the equals hyperlink function here, and that takes a URL and then the link label, which will be the title of the video. Okay, so I'll just copy that, get rid of it, tab out, head back to our glorious code, and we'll use some more template literals again and paste the hyperlink in. The first item is going to be the videos link. So we need to put this in double quotation marks so it reads well in the Google Doc, and then we will find the video link in video. I don't think it's going to be link. I think it's going to be alternate link here. Don't think there's actual link to it. Yeah, we've got self link. We'll have a look. Let's have a look up self link. That open? No, that just gives us a bunch of 404 errors. I think it's the alternate link. That looks more like our drive link here. Yeah, that's the way. Let's click on him. Control, click him open. There's our video. That's the one, alternate link. All right, you. Video.alternate link, and that will grab that link, we hope. And then if we remember in our hyperlink Google Sheets function, the next item is going to be the title. So again, double quotation marks, we're going to close the hyperlink function, and then we'll input the title. So $, curly braces, video dot title. Okay, so that's our title sorted out, I reckon. Let's try the ID. So const ID is going to be equal to video dot, I think it's just ID. Let's have a look. ID. Oh, there's a lot. Let's scroll through until we find it. Oh, you know how we could search for it? We could say double quotation mark ID. There it is. There. Yeah, so ID. That's in parents. Is there another one? That's in the root there. So it's going to extract that one. ID. Cool. We did it. That was a hard one, wasn't it? Okay, so we got ID, and then now we need the thumbnail. So const thumbnail, and that's going to be equal to, and here we can use the image function in Google Sheets, which is equals image, and that's going to take a URL, and we can set the mode, the height, and the width. We won't be too particular this time, but we're just going to put in the URL. So we'll just copy that or cut it. Head back to our code. Template literal backticks. Paste that glorious image in. And that's going to be in a string as well. So we need our double quotation marks. We'll close the image off and we'll put in our statement here. We'll insert our statement here. So it's going to be $, curly braces, video. Oh, video dot thumbnail link. There it is. Yeah, that's the one. Cool. Okay, const, we're doing well. Let's get the, what's next on our list? The width and the height. We'll call this const width height, and that's equal to, and this time we want to display the width as a pixel and then put an X and then the height as a pixel. So here we go here. Let's give it a crack. Template literals. First one, let's put in our statement, and that's going to be video. Oh, it's that metadata stuff. So video metadata. This is the one. Dot height. So this one here, and then put in a X. Let's put in a capital X, big X. Look at that, so much prettier. Let's Control C here, Control V, and we did it. There we go. Good. And then const, last one is our duration. Now, duration is a tricky one. We need to convert duration in milliseconds into a string that would look something like this. 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 10 seconds. Or 1 minute and 40 seconds, depending on our time. Now, this is a fairly complicated process. And I've saved something I've used previously, and I'm sure I've acquired that from Stack Overflow or Stack Exchange or somewhere. Let's use a modified version of that, and we'll make a separate function for this, and let's call it convert milliseconds to underscore hours, minutes and seconds, and that's going to take our duration in milliseconds. This one up here we generated. Go ahead and create that function now. So let's go down and say function. And we'll just write it up like it just came to us now because we're geniuses. So convert milliseconds to hours, minutes, seconds. I don't know, it was kind of cathartic to type this out anyway. I hope you're playing along and doing the same thing. And this is going to take our milliseconds, so like that. Yeah, let's do some JS doc magic just quickly so we know what we're adding. So converts milliseconds to hours, minutes, seconds with leading zeros if below 10. And it'll take a parameter, and that parameter is going to be a number called milliseconds, and then it's going to return, or spit back returns, a string, and that string is going to be in hours, mins, secs, or if it's below hours, it might be just mins and secs. For example, I don't know, 01 colon 32 colon 09. I think that's a fairly good sample there. All right, so we've got our milliseconds. So the first thing we need to do is say let secs for seconds equal, and we're going to use math.floor here. Math.floor is going to return the greatest integer less or equal to its numeric argument. So inside our math.floor here, we are going to grab the duration in milliseconds, and we're going to divide that by 1,000, and that's going to get our total seconds. And then we're going to essentially divide our total seconds by 60 and then get the remainder. And the remainder in JavaScript or in coding is called the modulus. And the remainder is going to be the total leftover time in seconds. So let's do the first bit. So we'll put an outer brace in here and we'll say milliseconds, wasn't it? Milliseconds divided by 1,000. And then we're going to use the modulus operator here to get the whatever's remaining, 60 here. Cool. So that's our seconds handled. Then we'll say let mins equals, so our math floor again, dot floor. And this time we are going to get the duration in milliseconds and divide it by 1,000 milliseconds multiplied by 60, which is the total time in minutes, and then get the modulus of 60. So let's do that. So we'll say milliseconds divided by, and then we need some more nested brackets, 1000 times 60. So that's total time in minutes. And then of that, we're going to get the modulus of 60. So whatever's remaining. Cool. Let's do the same with hours. Hers is equal, let's move it over one more space just to make the math. Because let's do it with our equal signs. Oh, even better. Math.floor.
I also dabble in precision.
Cool. And then inside that we're going to do milliseconds again, and divide that by 1000 milliseconds and multiply that by 60. That's going to get us to a minute, and then we'll divide and multiply that again by 60, and that's going to get us to an hour. So 1000 multiplied by 60 multiplied by 60, and then we're going to get what is remaining from an hour. So the modulus 60 of that. Cool. One thing we needed to do, I just noticed here, is also make sure our brackets go first, then our multiplication and division, right? All right, cool. So now we need to modify the hours depending on whether or not the total hours is greater than 10. If it's greater than 10, we need to add a 0 to the start. If it's less than 10, we just leave it as is. So we'll say hours is equal to brackets hours. So if hours is less than 10, and we're going to use a ternary operator here with the question mark, so it's an inline if statement, I guess you could call it, and we'll say 0. So we'll add a 0 if it's less than 10, and then we'll add plus the hours, or we'll just keep it as hours. And we're going to change that 3 times, and we're going to do the same with these ones. So this time I'm going to click the first one, hit Control D, D, and D. We'll change that to mins. And we're going to do the same for this one, Control D, D, and D to secs. Good-o. And now we're going to return the results. So return. Now we also want to do a ternary operator on this to say if the total value doesn't have any hours in it, we don't want to display the hours. We just want to display minutes and seconds. So we can do that by saying how hours is, if the hours are greater than 0, question mark, then, so we'll use our template literals again. We'll say $, curly braces, hours, colon, $, curly braces, mins, colon, $, curly braces, and seconds. Nice. Colon again, and then we want to do the same, but we just want these two items here. So we'll paste that in there, and we'll battle with the back ticks, and then we'll close it off. And we should be good. Let's just run a little test on this beforehand. So I'm just going to grab this, create a little function below. We'll call it test underscore. Get rid of milliseconds here. Pink. And then we'll say console.log this function. Then we'll say, I don't know, 14400. Yes, I've been working on my website lately. Okay, so let's go to this test one here and hit run, which is 14 seconds. Let's say 2 hours, so we'll say 2 times, we need to convert that, so 2 times 60 times 60 times 1000. Hit save. And we've got 2 hours. Okay. What if I do 2.5? Let me do that. It's going to do that. Yeah. So 2 hours and 30 minutes. Cool. Nice. We know everything's working as it should. Thank you, test function. Always testing. Okay, cool. So we've got our duration sorted out. It returns a text, which is what we need. Back up in our reduce statement here. We need to return something in a reduce function. So it goes back to the accumulator. So we need to add onto the accumulator. So we can use ACC and then we'll concatenate it. And then we will add in these values as a 2D array. So put in our first one here, and then just below we'll put in our next set. First one will be title, and then ID, thumbnail, then width, height, there it is there, and then duration. Nice. Okay. All right. That's looking pretty good. We could probably even return that now, couldn't we? Let's just return very quickly our video data or videos data. And because we in our runsy statement up the top here, it's going to log the video data. So hit save and then hit run. Cool, that's given us our array. Let's have a bit of a fine tune. Oh, we've got this other one produced here, but here's our logging. It's too big. That's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. It's already in the outer array. This is going to be the first row, and this will be the next row here. So 1, 2, 3. Sorry, there's 5 items here. It's freaking out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got our link. Yeah. And then our ID, and then our image. It looks pretty tidy. And then the dimensions, and then the time in minutes and seconds. Yeah, minutes and seconds is working. Look, there's another one. Awesome, minutes and seconds. Cool. Okay, last thing we need to do though for this little bit is before we return, we need to add in our footer. So we'll say const footer equals, and may as well make this a 2D array as well. And inside that 2D array, we're not going to have anything in the first column of the bottom, but then we'll put it in all caps, the total videos. So that's going to be the total video count. Put a colon there, and then in the next column is going to be actual total video length, and we can get that by going videos data dot length, and this is going to include the header in it, isn't it? So we need to subtract 1. Cool. And then we also need the total duration. So total duration. Oh, and we'll put a colon in there, comma, and that's going to be the count of the total duration of all the videos. Now, if you remember, if we go up here at the start, we had this all videos in milliseconds that we set to 0, and each time we iterated through each of the items, we added the milliseconds to it. So we've already got the value here, so we just need to pop that in there, but we don't want to display it as milliseconds, so guess what we're going to use? That's right, convert milliseconds to hours, minutes, seconds, paste in our all video in milliseconds, and that should be good to go. Now we need to add this footer to this videos data. So let's go const video array equals videos data dot concat footer. Footer. Okay. Good. Oh. And so now we just need to return this video array here. Hit save. Nice. Now we saw earlier that when we console log this, it's too massive to keep everything in place. So what we could do is just get the last item in the list and make sure that footer went in just nicely. And we can do that by saying videos data, video data dot length -1. We'll hit save. So that's cool. Hide these console logs. They're getting a bit confusing. And let's save again. Let's hit our runsies. Awesome. And then total videos 55, total duration 9 hours, 50 and 48 minutes. Yeah. Took me it took me about 3 months to write that course. Okay. We're nearly there, gang. We're nearly there. Last little bit of fun that we need to do is add in this data into our Google Sheet. So let's make it so. Okay, so we'll comment out these two console logs now. I don't think we need it unless an error pops up, but let's say const ss for spreadsheet app get active spreadsheet. You can use get active. I like get active spreadsheet. It's more explicit. Const sheet equals ss.get sheet by name. What name are we going to get? Let's have a look. We're creative here. We've called it sheet 1. Well done, us. Sheet 1 it is. 1. Cool. Then const range. We need to find the range. So we need to set up the range that we want to add in our data. So range, that's going to be equal to sheet.get range. And we're going to use this integer value here, so not this first one. It's going to be not that one, this one. Okay, there's another one you can use for A1 notation as well, which I like, but it's going to be easier for us to handle with this one for the time being. So row is going to be start row, end row, which could be 1 and 1, and then the row nums and the number of columns. So it's going to be the total count of rows and then the total count of columns across, which I'll show you how to handle now. So we'll say 1 for row start and column start. And now we want our number of rows, which is going to be our video data dot length. And then our number of columns is going to be our video data. We'll get the first item in that column dot length. We'll hit save. Cool. And now, lastly, we need to grab the range and then set values and close it off and see what happens. Now, let me just check. We didn't miss anything up here. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, got everything there. Let's hit runsies and see what happened. I'll hit run. Sneak over here. Does it populate? Or does it leave us with a sad, sad feeling of an error? Oh, we got to authorize because we're using Google Sheets. Review permissions. Yes, it's me. It is I. Okay, quick. Oh, it's not looking good. Pop that. Parameters don't match the method signature. Spreadsheet app range set values. Okay. In my excitement, I know what I did. We set the values of nothing. You need to hit video data, you silly boy. Alright, video data. Now we're actually going to put some information in there. Okay, hitting run, racing over to here to watch it populate. There it is in its beauty. Okay, so we've got the names here. We can hover over that and we can actually get this image that's matching here. We've got the ID, we've got the thumbnail and the width and height, total duration. This is each one of our items in our course. You can see the thumbnails populating as we scroll down. Fantastic. all the information that we need until we get to the bottom. Our total duration was 9 hours, 50 minutes and 48 seconds with a total of 55 amazing videos. Okay, we did it. I hope you found a bunch of videos to play along and you had the same success I did. Now, of course, I've been banging on about a course all the way through this. It's because I've recently spent 3 months writing a course on how to build Google Workspace add-ons using Google App Scripts and publishing them on the Google Workspace Marketplace. And I'm really proud of the results, and the initial enrollees have been very happy with their success in creating their own Google Workspace add-ons, making a canned response app. So if you want to sign up for the course, there'll be a link in the description. But in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this tutorial, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, subscribe. And I'll see you in the next tutorial.